Well, it's daybreak on the Horizon, and it's time for the press preview. A first look at what's on the front pages of the papers, and we're starting with our sister publication, and that will be this day newspaper. Southern PDP governors ganged up against me. Wike Alleges, we had already talked about that. Wike being a bad loser, cursing those who he said didn't vote for him. With 3 riders, my presidential bid sent a message to North that South can be underrated. The question is, anybody underrating you? Tells Atiku many people around him have no electoral value. Pledges to the Labour Party in 2023. Ex-Vice President Rivers Governor Saraki Anim close ranks. Advance collaboration for next year's election. That's what it will be after they lost. Okay. After emerging LPs, that's Labour Party's presidential candidate, Obi says emancipation of Nigeria has begun. You can find this in page 12 there. And just by the right, that picture official opening. Oh well, let's go to some other stories on this day. It says fuel subsidy may hit 6 trillion naira in 2022. IMF warns Nigeria. It has about 4 riders there. But just below it, we get INEC reacts to election guidelines adjustment, says it's not unilateral. That can be found on page 6 here. APC screens Tinubu, Amosu, Amechi, Badaru, Mwajuba, 6 others. That was yesterday. The screening is continuing today. 2 riders. Screening continues today with Oshibajo, the vice president, Fayemi Ono on standby. Bakare, Ken, sorry, that's not Ken. That would be Uju Ohanaye, the only lady aspirant, says they won't challenge the party if asked to step down. All right, that's for this day.
Let's turn to the Punch newspaper, and it's leading with presidential primary screening. APC questions Tinubu, Umahi, Bakare, others on foreign citizenship consensus. I cannot be second-class citizen. That's according to Governor Wike as he begins a reconciliation with Atiku. Methodist prelate, others regain freedom 24 hours after abduction. And the former governor of the southeastern Imo State, Rochas Okorocha, engages 5 senior advocates as the court hears his bail application today.
Yeah, of course, he won't be coming for the screening, and that's why he's taking EFCC to court 1 billion naira for infringing on his fundamental rights. All right, let's look at the Nation newspaper. The Nation newspaper, okay. What Tinubu told APC screening panel. This is coming from his aide. Former Lagos Governor Amechi Umahi, Bakare and others screened. Oshibajo Lawa, 9 others to face Odigio Oyegu panel today. Jonathan not listed. I think that's an old story. Wike slams PDP South governors for betraying him. Governor faults party over Dambuwal. I keep talking about Wike being a bad loser. We'll talk about that. 23 polls, rising flood prices threaten, food prices rather threaten economy. This is coming from the IMF. And on the top mast, EFCC charges Okorocha with 2.9 billion fraud. That's for the okay. One more. Let me take this. Why I visited Wike, Saraki, Dambuwal by Atiku. P2B picks Labour Party presidential ticket.
The Guardian newspaper is leading with Jonathan absent as APC screens presidential aspirants. Concerns as expatriate crew gulp 1.62 billion naira monthly flying politicians. And gunmen attack Anambra broadcasting station, set vehicles ablaze, injure staff. And Nigeria records 21 fresh cases of monkeypox and 1 death.
All right, 2 international newspapers. Daily Express. We'll have Daily Express. All right, tears and fury as travel carnage worsens.
This is the Independent. Family struggle as food prices rise by up to 50% in the UK.
And the Guardian, PM's sudden lurch to right fuels anger over Tory rebels.
And the Times, getaways at risk as chaos blamed on airline cuts.
The I paper, I-paper, we have the I-paper, right, I'll go ahead. Tory threat to Johnson growing by the day. School meals cut as food prices go up. That's for the I, Independent.
And for the press preview, let's bring in Emmanuel Bello. Good morning, Emmanuel. We're starting with this day. Southern PDP governors ganged up against me, that's according to Governor Nyesom Wike. His criticisms against his colleagues, are they valid, Emmanuel?
Well, good morning, Kenneth. Yes, well, even if they are not valid, what we're reporting is what he's saying. And though the other papers, when you look at all the other papers, they've shifted attention to APC. But it's a good thing that we bring a closure, and that's what this day is doing, a closure, some form of closure to what happened. And it doesn't get better than zeroing on Wike. And to look at it's important to know how he's reacting and what he did right after the election. And I think that is why it's very important that we look at that story again, because it could be a decider. He already said that, look, Rivers State is going to account for the biggest voting strength in the general election. He also said that Atiku doesn't have any form of political the people around Atiku don't have any political value. That he actually told Atiku that the people he's surrounding himself with. So that's why I think a little bit more look at what Wike is thinking, what he's saying, how he's reacting to all of these things, his next move. I think it's a good thing. I think that we're focusing on it. It's not a bad idea. Is he a sore loser? I don't think so. I think he played it very well. He was a sportsman. Right after the election, he congratulated the winner. There was photo ops of him yesterday being visited by Atiku. Interesting thing. But when back home, he needed to tell his people something, and he's telling them that, look, these are his fault. One thing that people are not looking at is the fact that Wike is actually taking the blame away from what he was blaming in the past. Wike's thinking process and talking point was that the North, the larger North, was trying to enslave everyone, and that they're trying to make everybody a second-class citizen. But now he shifted that. He said, look, it's not about the North anymore. It's about us. So he's bringing the blame back home. He's saying it wasn't the North that was the problem after all. So for him, the primary was like a teachable moment, and a epiphany, if you want, something that opened his eye to something else. And he said, look, maybe this evil we're talking about all along is with us. If we have ganged up together too, like the North has ganged up to rob us of this, maybe something else will have happened. So he's actually now rebuking those who are all the while talking about Southern presidency, zoning the presidency to the South and all of that. He's saying, well, we had an opportunity to actually to do that, but we didn't. Because if you look at the counts and you look at the anatomy of that election, you'll find out that in some states, some southern states, actually, delegates voted completely for Atiku. Some people will say that is the effect of money and all that. But if people are determined and they have a mission, like the North was really determined, and they said, look, we're going to win this, it will call for sacrifices. It's not just gazing at what the dollars was asking them to do. So what Wike is actually giving a very fiery rebuke, and it's a good thing that we focus on it. It's a serious rebuke, and going forward, he might be vindicated in history. But of course, there are people who say it is for this same reason they didn't vote in Wike. The fact that he talks this way, he acts this way, he flip-flops, he says one thing and does another thing. There are people who say this is the attitude that we didn't go for. This is the manner or the character we didn't go for, and that is why probably he lost the election. But you can't take away the fact that he's calling it the way it is, and very blunt too about it, Kenneth.
Yeah, well, just before you go, I just want to point out that Rivers State in Nigeria, it's in the south region, and it's the 6th most populous according to the 2006 population census, with more than 5.1 million people.
Yeah,
that's huge.
Emmanuel,
that's a strong voting bloc.
You've pointed out what even this day newspaper talked about Wike flip-flopping. Politicians, when they lose, they change their tone. Now he's singing a different tone. Well, the point is, you lost. People voted for who they wanted to vote for. You accept it and move on. That's what it is.
Yeah, but India, you can't deny someone. You can't deny someone his share is fair right. So actually explain to his people.
That's by the way
why he lost, and he's telling them that look, I went into this race with all the zest and all the energy, and all the backing. But of course, I was betrayed. You can't deny somebody his own fair share of saying what. Yeah, of course. But
some other people must also tell him the truth or tell the other story, the other side of the story.
I think he's put some curses out there.
Yeah, which is that's
Those
what
who
we're talking
voted
about.
otherwise will
You
suffer.
lost, so why are you putting causes out? People voted, like you said. Maybe that was the reason they didn't vote for him, because of the way he talks and the way he acts. He just said that. Now, anyway, that's for PDP, and Atiku seems to be doing what some people will call the right thing, reconciliation, going to those who lost, to bring them together in the party. But APC screens Tinubu, Amosu, Amechi, Bada, Ruwajuba, 6 others. The point is that people almost didn't know that APC was even screening, and one wondered why that was so. And initially, the press wasn't even allowed to get to never were really allowed to get up to where they were doing the screening. One wonders why that was so. It continues today, but it turned out good. I mean, the screening, and people talking about Jonathan not being there. Jonathan was never going to be there because he was not among those whose forms were taking. There are just 23. Emmanuel.
Yeah, well, you're almost done with reviewing that, but what I can add is that the screenings are happening, and it's a good thing. I think reporters too were trying their best yesterday to get talking points out of the screening process. It's also instructive to know that Reuters is going through another kind of screening altogether, a different kind of screening at the EFCC. So sadly, not for the party. And he's been screened out and getting some kind of screening elsewhere, which is also some dramatic aspect of the APC. And also to some extent, there's some kind of symbolism there that the ruling party has one of its own in the EFCC, while the others are getting screened in another parts of the city. So, and many of them did not. Another thing that you need to know with this they covered was that many of them were also, after the screening, came out saying that, well, they were prepared to step down if they were asked to. That's very instructive. They say they were ready for any kind of some form of consensus agreement. Why they are saying that now that they're getting screened, were they told something in those screening rooms that, look, you can be called upon any time to screen them. But the only lady in their midst actually said, look, if I'm asked to step down, I'll step down.
Yerima also said that.
Yeah, Tunde Bakare too said that, look, it's all about governance. So is the APC trying to work towards some form of consensus already? It's an interesting thing. The screening continues there. I think we'll just keep an eye on it to see what happens.
But we'll look forward to that, Emmanuel. In the southeastern Anambra state, there's been more violence. Gunmen have attacked the official broadcast station. Emmanuel, is it time to call in the military? I keep asking the question.
Yes, Kenneth, you keep asking the question, and we keep dancing around it, almost like, going around the cycle, going around the bend about this. And Soludo talked tough. I think right after that other, gruesome attack and killing of the lawmaker, Soludo did not talk about, don't just talk about it. He was trying to do something. He actually gave out a bounty, a reward, and said, look, if you can get us the killer. I think some reporting shows that even the killers have been found also.
I think 10 million or so.
10 million, yes. So some form of action, Kenneth, some form of action from Soludo beyond talking, beyond trying to pacify, beyond trying to, because negotiations are no longer working. It's like there's a Frankenstein monster out there. It's like something cannot be restrained again. It's like even the fighters are not listening to the cause or the man they say they're fighting for, because we've had cases of where they say, Nnamdi Kanu clearly said, look, this does not represent what IPOB stands for. We don't kill defenseless people. We're not here to murder people. This is not who we are. He has said those things. And yet, even with what he said, even with those photo ops of Soludo, Anambra continues to be a hotbed. You're right. It's time for Soludo to think of changing tactics, strategy, and doing something different.
Which may be, well, like Ken was saying, if you have to call in the military, you have to ask for it from the presidency, and then the presidency has to accept. The question is, does the East or Anambra State want to do that? It's something we will keep watching, but is not quite a good picture that the East, the leaders there, the security there, can handle this. It is not quite a good picture. One could say that. And then, of course, INEC says we did not adjust, reacts to election guidelines adjustment, says it's not unilateral.
Yes, that's
what does that mean?
What does that really mean? I mean,
if he's talking about,
they've extended those days, even after grandstanding, and it's saying that, look, And this is part of the
No,
crisis.
the inter-party, we must be said that the inter-party IPAC, inter-party, I can't forget the full meaning of the parties. They went to INEC together and asked INEC to do that.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying that after all that grandstanding by INEC, and I'm saying that that's part of the, the contradictions and the back and forth, something that's also colored our kind of, experience here of democracy. Because you're in a situation where INEC will say something and stay there. Everywhere in the world where you have electoral timetables, they are followed almost religiously. Those dates are close to being sacrosanct. But here you have made, adjustments. You've, almost, backtracked on a date, and you've made allowances for people who are not prepared. And it is that, aura of unpreparedness, that kind of atmosphere of unpreparedness that you find these political parties that actually they run into election. They were caught almost unawares by those dates, and those dates were there so clearly even before now, almost 1 year ahead or so. INEC has done its own thing. So in most cases, you begin to agree with INEC in most cases when they say that, look, the problem is not with us, it's not with us, the umpire, it is with the players.
But they also said anyway that what they did when the parties kept insisting was that they looked at those dates. Within those dates, they had no program. So it wasn't going to affect their overall program. That was one of the things they said. But we'll leave it there. Thank you so much, Emmanuel Bello, for being here to do the press meeting.